All right, today we're gonna be doing some jack avocado sprouts and bacon omelets. So today's experiment is gonna be two separate omelets. The first omelet, we're gonna follow the book's method of regularly preparing the omelet. And then for the second one, I'm gonna kind of Frankenstein in souffle into that recipe. And then we'll discuss the chemical changes and differences in the preparation methods and see how they're different in taste. All right, so we're gonna start our preparation of the ingredients by frying up these two pieces of bacon here, one for each omelet. And if you go ahead and come in a little bit closer for me. So you can see here I've added in a little over 2 tablespoons of water, and you're gonna wanna do that before you start cooking the bacon. And essentially the science behind that is the water kind of helps let the pan warm up a lot more evenly. And instead of getting that really hot pan right away and really searing that bacon, it's gonna warm up a little bit slower, a little bit more evenly. And you're gonna get a nice, even, crispy piece of bacon. All right, so we started off here chopping up our avocados. We're also gonna get our bacon, cheese, and sprouts together for each of those two omelets. And then we will see when that is all prepped and ready to go. All right, so as we're finishing up preparing those ingredients for the omelet, what I've gone ahead and done is place our 3 eggs for the omelet in a nice warm bowl of tap water. And these are gonna sit in there for about 5 minutes. And what that's gonna allow is it's gonna kind of soften up those eggshells just a little bit. So when you crack them, it's not gonna splinter as much and you're not gonna get those eggshells in your omelet mixture. All right, so I've prepared all the ingredients here. We got that strip of bacon in each. We got 1/4 cup of that Monterey Jack cheese. We got 1/4 of an avocado in there. And we got another 1/4 cup of green onions because I couldn't find alfalfa sprouts. So that was the substitute that I used for that. So now what we're gonna do is we're just gonna kind of stir these bowls up just a little bit, get them nice and mixed up for when they're getting put into that omelet. All right, so those eggs have been sitting in that water for about 5 minutes now. And so we're gonna be cracking them into this bowl. So what you wanna do when you're cracking an egg, a lot of people crack it on the side like this, which can be easier, but when you crack it on the side, you can actually push those eggshells into the egg, which is definitely not what you want. Nobody wants eggshells in their omelet. So rather than that, what we're gonna do is we're gonna crack it on this flat surface here. You want a nice, powerful beat for your first one. And that should give you a good crack there. And then you're good to just dump that in the bowl. All right, so now we're gonna add that pepper into our egg bowl here. Sprinkle that in, sprinkle that in. And then we're gonna beat those eggs up with a fork. All right. So we've heated up our pan for a little bit here. We just want it to be a little bit warm. So we're gonna take it off the heat now. We're gonna go ahead and spray a little bit of cooking spray on the bottom. And then next we're gonna add about 2 tablespoons of butter into that. And we're just gonna tilt that around until it melts pretty good. Gonna get a nice coat all the way around this pan here. Just letting that melt up, really greasing that pan up. And then once that butter's melted, we're gonna return it to the heat and add our eggs.
Okay.
All right, so now that that butter's melted, we're gonna go ahead and beat those eggs up just one more time before we pour them in here. Good to go. You're gonna add those eggs in. Just like that, perfect. And then these eggs are gonna cook here. We're just gonna be slowly just moving them to the side, which is gonna allow that lower layer of uncooked eggs to be on the bottom. And it's gonna let these eggs cook nice and evenly here so that none of them get overcooked. And we get ourselves a nice, even omelet. All right. So now that the eggs are just a little bit runny still, I've gone ahead and shake them over to the right side here. And that's gonna kind of form our crease for this, this omelet. We're we're gonna go ahead and add in our mixture into the middle here. Nice and careful, trying to keep it all in the middle. All right, we're gonna let that cook for just a second here. All right, now we're going to fold that omelet over on top of itself. All right, so we folded that omelet over, not the cleanest fold here. I should have done a better job of making the eggs a little bit thinner so we had a larger surface area to work with, but you live and learn. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna scoop this over to the edge here, and then we're just gonna take that off the heat, set this to the side, and we're just gonna kind of roll it onto our plate here. And there you go, there's our first omelet done. All right, for our final step here, nice and easy, we're just gonna add a nice generous dollop of sour cream on top. And you can add more or less depending on how much you like sour cream. And then on the side here, we're just gonna have a few nice slices of that 1/2 inch thick tomato. And there we have it, that's our first omelet done. This is just the normal prepared method. And next we're gonna be making that souffled method and explaining the chemistry behind that. All right, so we've got our egg whites and our egg yolks separate here. And we're gonna be beating them separately and then combine them together before we add them to the pan. So we're gonna start by beating those those eggs whites, excuse me. We'll be using a spatula for this. And you're gonna wanna just slowly, not slowly, but quickly and gently stir up these egg whites. And what we're doing this for is as you stir them, it's really gonna allow those proteins to move apart, and that's gonna get that air into the actual egg whites themselves. And so the idea of that is when we make that souffle, we really want it to be puffy, really puff up and give us that classic souffle texture. And so we're gonna whisk these for about 4 minutes, I'd say. And you're really gonna see the difference in the texture as those proteins move apart and the air gets in. All right, so we beat those egg whites for about, I'd probably say 6 or 7 minutes here. They took a lot longer than expected, but you can really see how that texture's changed. They're very frothy now. You can really see how thick those egg whites are, which is really what we're looking for here. We want those soft peaks, So now what I'm gonna do is, we're just gonna add a little bit of that egg white into the egg yolk, just a little bit. And then we're gonna stir that in here. Mix that all nice and good together there. And for the rest of those egg whites, we're just gonna gently put them all into a mixture here. Get all those out of the bowl. All right. And then we're just gonna gently fold them in. Don't want to stir them too heavy. We want to keep them nice and fluffy. We don't want those egg whites to really soak down those egg whites. So I realize I said egg whites. We don't want the egg yolks to soak down those egg whites. Want to keep them nice and airy, nice and fluffy. All right. And now that they're all nice and mixed together there, we are ready to get that pan going and get that omelet started. All right, so we got that pan warmed up here, taking it off the heat. A little bit of nonstick, dropping that butter in. And just like last time, we're gonna get that butter all nice and round, really grease up that whole pan there. And then we'll get those eggs cooking. All right, now we got that butter melted. We're gonna add in our egg mixture here. Getting that all in there. And that didn't appear to mix as well as I was hoping, so we're just gonna kind of mix it together a little bit here. And you really want to get a nice even layer here. Really smooth that down, just like that. And then we're gonna let those cook for about 2 to 3 minutes. We're looking for those edges to get nice and golden brown. And that's when we'll add our toppings and throw that into the oven. All right, so they've cooked for about 3 or 4 minutes here. Checked under the bottom a little bit. Those edges are getting a little bit of that golden color in. And so that's when they're good to go. So we're gonna turn that heat off there. And we're just gonna add in our toppings. Get a nice kind of even layer over the whole omelet here. Just like that, just like that. All right, now that those toppings are on, a little bit of cheese. Now that those toppings are all in there, we're gonna go ahead and transfer this into the 400-degree oven. Middle rack of the oven. And we're gonna bake that for about 5 minutes. We're really looking for that that souffle to get nice and puffy, nice and golden. So we're gonna be watching for that color. Could take 5 minutes, could take a little longer. We're gonna see. All right, I've checked the souffle. Been a little bit over 5 minutes here, and it is good to go. There it is. You can see it got a little bit larger there. See, you got that nice golden brown over the sides. And then we're just gonna flip that over, plate it, eat it, and see how it compares to the other one. All right, so we've eaten both the omelets, finished everything up here. And I will say you definitely can tell the difference in the texture with that souffled omelet. It was much more lighter and airier. You have that little bit of a golden crust on top, which was really good. Actually, there's a lot of flavor in that. Overall, I'd say that we preferred the regular omelet just because it felt a little bit more flavorful. I think what also impacted it was that souffle was so much larger that the ingredients, the toppings were really sparsely dispersed throughout that a little bit, which made each bite not as flavorful. But if you added more toppings to that souffle, I think it could have a chance of being a lot better than the other one. Overall, they're both really tasty. Learned a lot about how that beating of the egg whites and incorporating that air really added to the texture of the souffle. But yeah, it was a good experiment, learned a lot, and delicious.